He died saving her, but a dark wraith traps his soul. She lives for his ghostly kiss, her only proof he's still there. But she's forced to face a horrifying truth. Her love is not a comfort, it's the fuel, and she is the one helping the monster tear his spirit apart. The night he died, the sky wept. I remember the cold. It was a physical weight, a crushing, icy thing that stole the breath from my lungs. The wind howled off the Greystone cliffs, sharp as a blade, cutting through my thin jacket. "Eve, run!" His voice. "Rail!" It cut through the roar of the storm, a command that was meant to be obeyed. He was the Alpha of this house, the lord of this dark, ancient coastline, and his word was law. But I couldn't move. I was frozen, watching him fight. He wasn't a wolf, not like the legends the townspeople whispered about. He was a man, but a man who moved with the power of a storm. He stood between me and the thing that had hunted us from the manor. It was a creature of shadow and malice, a vortex of darkness that seemed to drink the very light from the air. A wraith. I had been in his world for only 6 months. A human girl who had fallen in love with the haunted, powerful Alpha of Greystone Bay. His pack, his family, looked at me with suspicion. I was a weakness. Tonight, they were proven right. "Run!" Rail shouted again. He was bleeding. A dark stain spread across his shirt, visible in the flashes of lightning. He had taken a blow that was meant for me. He shoved me hard, sending me slipping on the wet rocks, away from the edge. "No!" I screamed. The wraith rose up, a pillar of icy smoke, and its form solidified. It was fast. Too fast. It didn't use a weapon. It used the cold. Rail met the attack head-on. He was strong, stronger than any man I had ever known, but he was flesh. The shadow was not. I watched, helpless, as the tendrils of darkness struck him. He roared, a sound of pure defiance, but it turned into a strangled gasp. He fell to his knees. "Rail!" He looked at me. Just once. His eyes, usually the color of warm honey in the daylight, were fading. "I will always." He never finished. His body slumped, lifeless, onto the stone. A sob ripped from my throat. It was a sound of such agony that the world went silent. The wraith turned to me. It had one. It glided over the ground, its chilling presence washing over me. I was next. But as it reached for me, a new light blasted it backward. I stared, my mind breaking. Rail's body was still. But his spirit, a shimmering, golden outline of the man I loved, was standing over his own corpse. He was translucent, beautiful, and blazing with a fury that was not of this world. He was dead. And he was still fighting. He lunged at the wraith. This time, it was a battle of equals. Light against shadow. They clashed, and the cliffside boomed with the impact. The wraith shrieked, a sound that drilled into my bones, and Rail's spirit roared. He was trying to destroy it. But the wraith was ancient. It wrapped itself around him, not to fight, but to bind. I saw the moment it happened. The shadows formed chains, tethering themselves to his new, shining form. The wraith wasn't trying to kill him, it was trying to keep him. To feed on him. He was trapped. His body was gone, lost to the storm. But his spirit was here. He turned his head, his face a mask of love and torment. He couldn't leave. He couldn't come to me. He was anchored to the stones of his own home, a prisoner of the monster that had killed him. He died saving me. But his spirit never left. Hello, my loves. Thank you for starting this journey with me. This story is going to be an emotional one. I have to ask, where are you watching from tonight? And what's the weather like where you are? Let me know in the comments. If you're already feeling the tension, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single chapter of Eve and Rail's story. Chapter 1. 1 year. 365 days of silence. I walked the grand, empty corridors of Greystone Manor, a ghost in my own right. The house itself was a fortress of dark stone and ancient wood, perched on the cliffs like a bird of prey. It was a royal setting, as Rael's family had been the alphas of this territory for 1,000 years. They were American royalty, rich, powerful, and secretive. And I was the human widow, the outsider, the living, breathing reminder of their greatest failure. The warm, golden hour light streamed through the tall, arched windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. This light used to comfort me. Now, it just highlighted the emptiness. "You shouldn't be in here, Eve." I flinched, turning from the portrait of Rael that dominated the great hall. Alistair stood there. Rael's brother. The new Alpha. He was the shadow to Rael's light. Where Rael had been warm and protective, Alistair was cold and pragmatic. He wore his power like armor. He looked so much like his brother, the same strong jaw, the same thick, dark hair, but his eyes were different. They were the color of the storm. "This is still my home, Alistair," I said, my voice quiet. "It is the home of the pack," he corrected me, his voice smooth and hard. "A home you are no longer part of. You do not carry his blood. You do not carry his mark." I fought the sting of his words. He was right. Rael and we hadn't had time. The Wraith had attacked before our bonding ceremony. "He wanted me here," I whispered, more to the portrait than to him. "What he wanted got him killed." Alistair's words were brutal, but his face was carved from grief. He was hurting, too. We all were. He let his guard down. He let a human into his heart, and that shadow, the Soul Eater, used that love to find him. It had been dormant for centuries, Eve. It only woke when he met you. I was the trigger. I was the curse. I had heard this 1,000 times. "The council has agreed," Alistair continued, pulling on his leather gloves. "We are giving you the stipend, as Rael wished. But you must leave Greystone. You must leave the Bay. The pack cannot heal with you here. I cannot heal with you here." I turned back to the portrait. Rael's smile was so real I could almost feel it. "I'm not leaving, Eve." His voice was a low warning. "I am not leaving him." Alistair let out a sharp, frustrated breath. "He is dead, Eve. He is gone. There is nothing left for you here but drafts and bad memories. Stop clinging to a corpse." I closed my eyes. He didn't understand. He thought Rael was gone. But I knew better. I clutched the locket around my neck. It was a simple, heavy silver piece, shaped like a crescent moon, with a smooth moonstone at its center. Rael had given it to me the week before he died. "It's a part of me," he'd said. "It will always keep you safe." It was cold. It was always cold. Except for one night a month. Alistair looked at the locket, his lip curling in distaste. "That should have been buried with him." He gave it to me. I protected it with my hand. "Sell it. It will set you up for a new life. Go, Eve. Live. This place, this is a tomb." He turned and left, his heavy boots echoing on the marble floor. The sound was final. He had given me an order, not a request. I waited until the sound of the heavy front door closing boomed through the manor. I was alone. I walked through the manor, my hand trailing on the cold stone walls. I felt the familiar pull, the invisible string that tied my heart to this house. Alistair was wrong. Rael wasn't gone. He was just quiet. I knew this because every full moon, the locket around my neck would begin to grow warm. And every full moon, I would go to the place he died, the cliffside keep at the edge of the property. And every full moon, I would see him. Tonight was the full moon. I felt the anticipation, a sharp, fluttering thing in my chest that was equal parts love and terror. The locket was already changing. The silver, usually cold as ice, was now faintly lukewarm against my skin. I bundled up, pulling on a thick wool coat, and slipped out the side door, avoiding the pack guards Alistair had posted. They watched me, but they didn't stop me. They thought I was just a grieving, half-mad widow. Let them. The walk to the keep was long. The wind was high, carrying the scent of salt and pine. The manor loomed behind me, its windows dark. I reached the ruins of the small stone keep. This was where he had made his last stand. The moon was climbing, a perfect, heavy white orb in the sky, washing the world in silver. The locket was hot. It wasn't just warm, it was burning. I felt the heat through my sweater. My breath hitched. I stood in the center of the broken stones and waited. The air grew thick, the temperature dropping so fast my breath plumed in front of me. The same icy cold from that night. The wraith was here. It was always here. But so was he. The air in front of me began to shimmer. It gathered, pulling the moonlight into one place, weaving it into a form. He appeared. Rael. He was made of golden hour light and memory. He was beautiful. He wore the clothes he had died in, but they were whole and clean. His face was agony. Eve, his voice whispered. It wasn't a sound. It was a thought, placed directly into my mind. Rael. I cried his name, the tears coming instantly. I reached for him, knowing it was useless. My hand passed right through his chest. He closed his eyes, his own form flickering with the pain of it. The forbidden rule. The dead cannot touch the living. You shouldn't be here, his thought voice whispered. It was weaker than last time. It's getting stronger. It feeds. I don't care. I stepped closer, so his shimmering form was all around me. It was like standing in a cold fire. I won't leave you. You must. No. He looked at me, his love a tangible thing that wrapped around my heart. He was bound to this place. The wraith had tethered him here, a spiritual feast it could draw on for eternity. And I was his only connection to the woman he had died for. He leaned in. His spirit form was unstable. He was fighting to hold himself together, just for this. Just for me. The one thing the wraith allowed. The one thing that proved he was still Rael. His lips, made of light and shadow, touched mine. My world exploded. It was not a cold kiss. It was a kiss of thunder and moonlight, of lost memories and desperate promises. It was the only thing that felt real in my empty life. It was a jolt of pure energy, a shock that left my knees weak and my soul singing. It lasted only a second. He pulled back and a silent scream ripped through his form. His light flickered violently, like a candle in a hurricane. The locket on my chest burned. I gasped, the silver searing my skin. Rael, what's wrong? He clutched his chest, his spirit form wavering. The wraith. I could feel it, somewhere in the shadows, laughing. It was letting him kiss me. It hurts, he whispered, his form dissolving like smoke. Eve, the journal, in my study, the key. What key? Rael, stay with me. But he was gone. The LTCP heat faded from the locket. The air was just air again. The only sound was the crashing of the waves below. I sank to my knees, my hand gripping the burning hot locket. He was in pain. The kiss, our one moment, was hurting him. And the wraith was feeding on it. I looked back at the dark manor. The journal, I whispered, my voice raw. The key. Alistair had forbidden me from his study. I didn't care. I was going in. Chapter 2. I ran. My boots slipped on the muddy path, but I didn't slow down. The searing pain on my chest, where the locket had branded me, was a terrifying new puzzle. The kiss was killing him. My one comfort, my one proof that he was still in there, was a weapon being used against him by the monster that held him captive. I scrambled through the side door of the manor, dripping seawater and mud onto the polished floors. I didn't care. I raced through the servants' corridor, my mind fixed on one goal, Rael's study. It was in the oldest part of the house, the West Tower. Alistair kept it locked. He called it a shrine and said my presence desecrated it. I reached the heavy oak door. It was, as I expected, locked. A heavy, old-fashioned iron plate and a keyhole stared back at me. The key Rael had whispered. I fumbled with the locket, my fingers trembling. It had cooled now, leaving a painful red mark on my skin. I looked at it. It was beautiful, but I had never looked closely at the craftsmanship. Around the edge, etched in the silver, was a tiny, intricate pattern. It wasn't just decoration. It was a key. My heart hammered. I unclasped the chain and pushed the pointed, crescent moon tip of the locket into the keyhole. It fit. With a heavy clack, the lock turned. I pushed the door open, my breath held. The study was just as he'd left it. It smelled of old books, leather, and him. The scent of pine and old parchment. It was a circular room, with a domed ceiling painted with stars. Bookshelves lined every wall, filled with ancient, leather-bound volumes. A massive desk, carved from a single piece of dark wood, sat in the center, facing the window that overlooked the cliffs. It was a royal chamber. A room for an alpha, a king. I felt him here. His presence lingered, peaceful and safe, unlike the tortured spirit on the cliffs. This room was his sanctuary. The journal, I whispered, scanning the shelves. There were hundreds of books. I went to his desk. It was neat. Maps of the territory were rolled up in a holder. A heavy, silver inkwell sat beside a clean blotter. Where was it? I pulled open the drawers. They were filled with pack business. Treaties with other alphas. Land deeds. Nothing personal. I was wasting time. Alistair or his guards could find me at any moment. I stepped back, frustrated. Rael, please, where is it? My eyes scanned the bookshelves again. They were perfectly organized. History. Lore. War. Then one shelf, hidden in the darkest corner of the room, near the fireplace. It was a single row of books that looked different. They weren't just old, they were ancient. The bindings were cracked, the titles faded. And one of them wasn't a book at all. It was a wooden box, carved to look like a book. There was no title, just the gray stone crest, a wolf's head against a mountain. I pulled it down. It was heavy. I took it to the desk, the golden hour light just catching the edges, and I opened it. Inside, resting on black velvet, was a single, massive, leather-bound journal. This was it. I opened it. The first page was in Rael's familiar, strong handwriting. I have known the curse was in my blood, but I believed it was just a story. A myth to frighten new alphas. The Soul Eater. A shadow that binds itself to the Greystone line, feeding on our deepest emotions. It lay dormant for 5 generations. I flipped the page, my hands shaking. It has woken. It woke the day I saw her. Eve. My love for her is a beacon in the dark, and it has called the monster from its slumber. My pack elders warn me. They tell me to cast her out. They say a human heart is too bright, too open, and that the wraith will use her as a doorway. I felt a cold dread settle in my stomach. Alistair was right. I was the trigger. I kept reading. He wrote about his fear. His refusal to send me away. His plans to fight the creature. The locket. He had the locket commissioned from a coven in the north, imbued with protection magic. It was supposed to shield me from the wraith. It had failed. I skipped to the last few entries, written just days before his death. The wraith is stronger than I knew. It is not just a parasite, it is intelligent. It doesn't want to kill me. It wants to imprison me. The elders say it seeks to sever the alpha's spirit from his body, anchoring it to the land. It wants to feed on my spirit for eternity. I will not let it. I will fight it. If I die, I die. But I will not be its prisoner. But he was its prisoner. He had lost. Then I saw it. The very last page. The ink was different, hurried, as if he was writing against time. The full moon. The monster is using the full moon. The energy is highest then. It draws on the moon to sustain its prisoner. It lets me see her. It lets me feel. It twists my love into a weapon. My love is the energy it feeds on. The kiss, it is a conduit. When I kiss her, the wraith drains me. It is using my love for her to devour my soul. I dropped the journal as if it had burned me. I backed away, my hand flying to my mouth. A strangled sound came out. The kiss. Our only moment. The one thing I lived for. It wasn't just hurting him. It was feeding the monster. Every time I went to him, every time I let him touch me, I was helping that thing eat him alive. Oh God, I whispered, sinking to the floor. Oh God, Rael. What have I been doing? I was the one destroying him. I warned you to stay away. I gasped, scrambling to my feet. Alistair stood in the doorway. His face was not just angry, it was a mask of cold, controlled fury. His eyes were fixed on the open journal on the desk. You have no right, he hissed. It's hurting him, Alistair. I cried, the tears streaming down my face. The kiss. It's feeding the wraith. I've been feeding it. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you. He stalked into the room, his presence sucking all the air out. I told you to leave. I told you he was gone. But you wouldn't listen. You had to keep picking at the wound. You had to keep going to him. I thought he was just a ghost. He is not a ghost, Eve. Alistair slammed the journal shut. The sound was like a gunshot in the silent room. He is bait. A memory the wraith is using to keep you here, to fuel itself. That thing you kiss? It's not Rael. Not anymore. It's a memory. A lore. The real Rael, his soul, is being devoured piece by piece, and you are holding the fork. His words were knives. I couldn't breathe. No, I whispered. No. Yes. He gripped my arm, his fingers digging in, and dragged me toward the door. You wanted to know the truth? Here it is. My brother is in hell. And you are the one stoking the fire. He threw me out of the study and slammed the door, the lock clicking shut. I was left in the cold, dark corridor, my entire world shattered. To save him, I had to do the one thing I couldn't bear. I had to abandon him. I had to leave Greystone. And I had to do it before the next full moon. Chapter 3. For a week, I was a machine. I packed. I moved through the golden hour light of the manor, packing my few belongings into 2 worn suitcases. Every item was a memory. The blue dress I wore on our first dinner. The small, carved wolf he'd left on my pillow. I left them all. I would take nothing of his. I would sever the tie. Alistair watched me from a distance. His coldness had been replaced by a quiet, heavy grief. He wasn't a monster. He was just a man who had lost his brother and was trying to save what was left. He had arranged for a car to take me to the airport in Seattle, a flight to the other side of the country. My best friend, Jenna, who lived in the village, came to help. She was human, like me, and had been my only friend since Rael died. I think you're doing the right thing, Eve, she said softly, folding a sweater. She was gentle, practical. This place, it's a tomb. You've been haunting it as much as he has. I flinched but didn't reply. I hadn't told her the truth. I couldn't. I just told her Alistair was forcing me out. It's for the best, she continued, zipping my bag. You can finally start over. You can finally let him go. Let him go. The words felt like sandpaper in my throat. I wasn't just letting him go. I was abandoning him to a monster, hoping that my absence would starve it. What if Alistair was wrong? What if leaving didn't save Rael, but just left him alone in the dark with that thing? I shook the thought away. I had to trust Alistair. He was the Alpha. He knew the lore. The locket was in my pocket. I hadn't worn it since that night. It felt heavy and cold, like a simple piece of metal. The magic, it seemed, was gone. The night before I was set to leave, I couldn't sleep. The manor was silent. The moon was a thin sliver, weeks away from being full. I found myself walking the corridors one last time. I was saying goodbye. He is wrong, you know. The voice was soft, cracking with age. I spun around. An old man sat in a high-backed chair by the fireplace in the library, a room I rarely entered. He was wrapped in a thick wool blanket. Elias? He was the pack's lorekeeper, the oldest living member of the Greystone line. He was ancient, his face a map of wrinkles, his eyes a milky blue. Alistair had kept him separate from me, saying he was too frail. The new Alpha is strong, Elias murmured, gesturing for me to come closer. He is a good leader. But he reads the lines, not the meaning. I knelt by his chair, my heart suddenly racing. What do you mean? Alistair believes that by separating you, the curse will fade. Elias looked into the fire. He is wrong. Leaving will not starve the Wraith. It will only sever the last tie Rael has to his humanity. The Wraith will consume him completely, and then, unbound from the manor, it will be free. My blood ran cold. Free to do what? To hunt, Elias said simply. To hunt the next brightest light. To hunt you. Alistair is not saving Rael. He is unleashing a monster. No, I breathed, horrified. Then what do? The kiss, it's feeding it. I'm killing him. You are, he agreed, and my heart broke. You are feeding the Wraith. But you are also feeding Rael. You are in a tug-of-war for his soul, child. And you are the only one pulling for him. But I'm losing Elias. He's getting weaker. I can feel it. That is because you are only giving him a kiss. I stared at him confused. Elias turned his milky blue eyes to me. The Soul Eater is bound by ancient law. It feeds on the curse. The curse states that the Alpha is bound to the Stone of Greystone, and the dead cannot touch the living. That is the lie the Wraith feeds on. It enforces that law, because as long as Rael is only a spirit, and you are only human, he is trapped. It can feed forever. So how do I stop it? I pleaded, grabbing his frail hand. You do not break the curse by running, he whispered, his voice gaining strength. You break it by shattering the law. You must claim him. Claim him? How? I'm human. The curse states the dead cannot touch the living. It says nothing of the living giving to the dead. A new, terrifying understanding dawned. Giving what? Alistair and his pack, they are werewolves, Eve. Their life force is of the earth. It is strong. But yours, a human soul, given freely in love, that is a power they cannot comprehend. It is a fire that can burn away any shadow. What are you telling me to do? You must not just kiss him, child. You must bind him. Not to this house, but to you. You must pour your own life force, your own will, your own love into him. Will it kill me? I asked, my voice small. Elias looked at me for a long, heavy moment. I do not know. It has never been done. But I know this. If you do not, you will lose him forever. And the Wraith will come for you. The locket in my pocket suddenly felt warm. Not burning. Just warm. When? The next full moon, Elias said. The Wraith will be at its strongest, pulling him apart. But Rael will be there, too, fighting for one last glimpse of you. You must be ready. I had a choice. I could run and be hunted. Or I could stay and fight for his soul. It was never really a choice at all. Tell me what I have to do, I said. The car Alistair had ordered for me left the next morning empty. I stayed. For the next 3 weeks, I was a student. Elias, with a new fire in his eyes, taught me. I read the real lore. I learned about soul bonds, about anchors, about a human's hidden power. I learned how to meditate, how to draw on my own energy, how to center my will. Alistair was furious. He confronted me, but I was no longer the broken widow. You are interfering with pack law, Eve, he had roared. You are sacrificing your brother because you are afraid. I had shot back. I am not. I am going to save him. He couldn't force me to leave. Not physically. I was still, by Rael's last command, under his protection. The night of the full moon arrived. I felt it all day. A sickness in the air. A tension so thick it was hard to breathe. The locket was pulsing with a soft, warm light, hidden under my shirt. Alistair and his 2 most trusted pack members, his betas, had locked themselves in the manor's chapel, praying to their moon goddess. They were preparing, Elias had warned me, to exorcise Rael's spirit. They believed that by cutting him from the world, they could sever the curse. They were going to destroy him, thinking they were saving him. I went to the cliffs. A storm was gathering, just like that first night. The moon was high, arrogant, and bright. I stood in the ruins of the keep. The air dropped to freezing. The wraith manifested first. It was huge now, a swirling vortex of black ice and shadow, blocking the moon. It knew what I was planning. It was here to stop me. Then, Rael appeared. He was barely there. A faint, flickering golden light. He looked transparent, his face a mask of agony. "Eve, you came, run." The wraith lunged. Not at Rael. At me. I stood my ground, my heart hammering, but I remembered Elias's words. "You are the fire." "Stop." Alistair. He and his betas burst into the clearing. They were in their half-forms, their features woven, their eyes glowing. They held silver blades. Alistair saw the massive wraith. Then he saw Rael's flickering spirit. He thought they were one and the same. "Begone, demon," he roared, and he and his men began the ritual. They chanted in the old tongue, raising their blades. The silver light from their ritual slammed into Rael. His spirit screamed. A soundless, tearing agony. The ritual wasn't hurting the wraith, it was shredding Rael's soul. "No!" I shrieked. "Alistair, you're killing him. He's not the monster." The wraith turned, sensing its victory, and lunged for Rael's weakened spirit, to consume it once and for all. I had to choose. I ran. I ran past Alistair, past the chanting betas. I ran at the wraith. Get away from him. I didn't stop. I ran through the shadow, a cold so deep it stopped my heart, and I threw myself at Rael's fading light. I embraced the ghost. "You are not of this stone," I gasped, the cold fading, replaced by his light. "You are not of this curse. You are mine." I ripped the locket from my neck. It was blazing, a miniature sun. I pressed it to the center of his chest. "Elias, pour your will into him. Bind him to you." I closed my eyes and pushed. I pushed all my love, all my life, all my memories, our first kiss, our laughter. The night he died, I pushed it all into him. There was a sound like a star exploding. A wave of pure, golden light erupted from the locket. It was my light. My soul. The wraith shrieked. The sound was no longer a laugh. It was agony. The light was burning it, severing its dark chains. My love was the fire, and the curse was the fuel. The wraith wasn't feeding on Rael, it was feeding on the curse. And by claiming Rael for myself, I was breaking it. The shadow dissolved. The cold vanished. The storm ceased. Alistair and his men were on the ground, staring, their ritual broken. I was left standing in the ruins, breathing hard, my body shaking. I was alone. "No," I whispered, my heart stopping. "No, please." I looked down. The locket was in my hand, just a piece of silver again. He was gone. I had saved him, only to lose him. I had set him free. I fell to my knees, a sob tearing out of me. "Eve." My head snapped up. He was standing there. Rael. He was no longer flickering. He was solid, made of warm, golden light. He was whole. He looked peaceful. He walked toward me. I saw Alistair stand, his jaw dropped. He could see him, too. Rael knelt in front of me. He was real. He was here. He slowly, tentatively, raised his hand. His glowing fingers touched my cheek. It was warm. I gasped, my tears stopping. He wasn't passing through me. I could feel him. "Rael, you did it," he whispered. His voice was real, not a thought. It was the sound of the wind in the pines. "You broke it." You're free," I cried, touching his hand. "Yes." He smiled, and the moon caught the light in his eyes. But I saw it. The edges of him were starting to soften. He was fading. The curse was broken. He was free to move on. "No," I whispered, panic rising. "Don't go. Please. I just got you back. I will always." He started, the same words from that night. "I love you." I cried, clutching his hand, trying to hold him here. He leaned in and kissed me. It wasn't the lightning strike of the full moon. It was warm. It was gentle. It was goodbye. He faded, leaving me on my knees, alone on the cliffside. I had saved his soul, but I was still a widow. Chapter 4. I didn't move for a long time. The sound of Alistair's boots on the gravel finally pulled me from the fog. I looked up, my eyes raw, my heart a hollow cavern. He stood over me, his face pale, his woven features softened back into a human's. The silver blade was limp in his hand. He was staring at the spot where Rael had faded. I saw him, he whispered. It wasn't a question. He was whole. He's gone, I said, my voice empty. You were right. The curse is broken. He's gone. Alistair's hard expression, the one he wore like a shield, finally crumbled. He looked broken. He dropped to one knee, not beside me, but near me, and slammed his fist onto the stone. What did I do? I was chanting. I was tearing him apart. I thought he was the monster. He was just trapped, I whispered, the locket heavy in my palm. And you? He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time. Not as the human weakness, but as something else. You ran through it. That thing, it could have destroyed you. It didn't matter. He kissed you, Alistair said, his voice quiet, full of awe. And then he faded. You set him free, Eve. I nodded, a fresh wave of grief closing my throat. I had won. This is what winning felt like. It felt like dying. Alistair offered me his hand. I stared at it. It was the first time he had ever offered me anything but scorn. I took it. His grip was strong, and he pulled me to my feet. My legs were shaking so badly I almost fell. He didn't let go. He, the Alpha, steadied me. Come, he said, his voice thick. Let's go home. The walk back to the manor was silent. The other two betas, large and intimidating men, flanked us, their heads bowed. They had seen it, too. They had seen their Alpha's spirit, whole and at peace, and they had seen the human woman who had saved him. When we entered the great hall, Elias was waiting by the fireplace, as if he had never moved. He looked at me, his milky eyes searching. I just shook my head, unable to speak. Alistair spoke for me. He is gone, old friend. The wraith is destroyed. Eve, she broke the curse. Elias smiled, a slow, deep smile that crinkled his entire face. So, it is done. It is, Alistair said, his voice heavy. He's at peace, I managed to say. He's free. Yes, Elias said, nodding. He is free from the stone. Free from the shadow. He paused, looking at me intently. But not free from you. I stopped, my hand on the banister. What? You did not just break the curse, child. You remade it, Elias said, his voice filling with a strange energy. The old curse bound him to the land, where the wraith could feed on him. You shattered that. You bound him to life. You bound him to you. My heart, which I thought had stopped, gave a painful lurch. What are you saying, Elias? I saw him. He faded. He returned to his anchor, Elias said, tapping his own chest. You're his anchor now, Eve. Not the manor. You. He is no longer a ghost of a place. He is a spirit of a person. Your person. I don't understand. Is he here? Can I see him? I looked around, desperate, my eyes scanning the shadows. No, not like that. Not anymore. Elias's smile was kind. You poured your life force into him. You gave him a piece of your soul to mend his. He is part of you now. He is not gone. He is simply with you. I didn't know what that meant. It felt like a kind story, a way to soften the blow. Alistair looked at Elias, then at me. Get some rest, Eve. We will talk in the morning. The pack needs to know what happened. I climbed the grand staircase, my legs heavy. I entered my room, our room, Rael's and mine, and closed the door. The emptiness was overwhelming. Rael? I whispered to the dark room. Are you here? Nothing. Just the sound of the wind. I sank onto the bed, curling up, the locket still clutched in my hand. I was so tired. I had poured out so much of myself I felt hollow. I cried. I cried for the man I had loved and lost, and for the spirit I had saved and lost all over again. I must have fallen asleep, because when I opened my eyes, the first, pale gray light of dawn was filtering through the curtains. I felt warm. It wasn't the golden hour light. It was an internal warmth, a deep, steady heat that seemed to be coming from my own chest. I sat up. The exhaustion was gone. The hollow feeling was gone. I felt whole. I looked at the locket in my hand. It was just silver. The warmth wasn't coming from it. It was coming from me. I stood, walking to the large window that overlooked the cliffs. The storm was gone. The sea was calm, the sky a soft blue. I felt a presence. Not a cold spot in the air. Not a shimmer of light. It was a feeling. A hand on the small of my back. A whisper in my mind that wasn't a word, just a feeling. Peace. Rael, I whispered, touching my own heart. The warmth flared, bright and strong. I looked at my reflection in the glass. And for a second, just a second, I wasn't alone. His reflection, faint as a breath, stood behind mine. He wasn't the tortured spirit. He wasn't the golden ghost. He was just Rael. Smiling. He wasn't gone. Elias was right. He was with me. He couldn't touch the world. He couldn't speak aloud. He couldn't hold me. But he was here. He was in my heart, a part of my soul. I was his anchor. I turned from the window, a slow, real smile spreading across my face for the first time in a year. I wasn't a widow. I wasn't alone. I was his. And he was mine. Chapter 5. The months that followed were a quiet, strange, new beginning. I didn't leave Greystone Manor. It was my home. But it was no longer my prison. Alistair and I forged a new peace. The pack's suspicion of me turned into a kind of reserved awe. I was the soul seer, the human woman who had banished the soul eater and saved their lost Alpha. I wasn't just the human anymore. I was part of the pack in a way I had never been when Rael was alive. I took over the duties of the manor, managing the household, a role Rael had always wanted for me. I worked with Alistair on pack business, translating the old journals, helping him understand the lore he had once dismissed. Elias and I spent many afternoons in the library. He taught me more about my gift. The energy I had used to save Rael was not a common human trait. You are a conduit, child, he explained, sipping his tea. A human with an alpha soul. It's why Rael was so drawn to you. It's why the Wraith saw you as such a threat, and such a prize. My life was full. I had purpose. I had respect. But I was still lonely. Rael was with me. I felt him. When I was stressed, a wave of calm would wash over me. When I walked the cliffs, I felt his hand in mine. When I looked in the mirror, I would sometimes catch that flicker of his smile. But it wasn't enough. I missed his voice. I missed his touch. I was sitting in the study, my study, now one evening, staring into the fireplace. The locket was around my neck, warm with his steady presence. It's not fair, I whispered to the empty room. I saved you. But I still can't have you. The warmth in my chest flared, and with it came a feeling, sorrow. He was lonely too. He was trapped in a different way. He was a passenger in my life, unable to interact, unable to speak, unable to be. I love you, Rael, I cried softly. But this is its own kind of torture. I felt his presence pull back, as if he was afraid he was hurting me. No, don't, I said, clutching the locket. Don't go. Don't hide. I just miss you. Alistair found me like that, crying quietly at the desk. He didn't say anything, just leaned against the doorframe. Our relationship was better, but he was still awkward with emotion. He's still here, isn't he? He asked. I nodded, wiping my eyes. I can feel him. He's tethered to me. But I can't talk to him. I can't see him. It's just a feeling. Alistair looked uncomfortable. Perhaps that is all he is now, Eve. No, I said, conviction rising. He's more. He's in there. I can't reach him. Elias said the bond was remade. That you are his anchor. I am. But what good is it if he's still a prisoner? Alistair crossed the room, a rare frown of concentration on his face. He picked up the old, leather-bound journal, Rael's journal, that I now kept on the desk. He flipped through the pages. Rael was looking for a way to fight the Wraith. He was looking for protection for you. He paused. But maybe he was looking for something else. He pointed to a page I had read a dozen times. It was a passage about conduits and anchors. I thought he was talking about the Wraith, I said. He was, Alistair said. But look, the spirit is drawn to the brightest flame. A human soul is fire. An alpha soul is earth. But when fire and earth meet... He stopped, his eyes widening. Meet how? I asked, standing. The bonding ceremony, Alistair whispered, his eyes locked on the page. The one you never had. My heart stopped. But he's dead. His body is, Alistair said, a strange, new excitement in his voice. But his spirit is not. And you are not just human, Eve. Elias said it. You're a conduit. The ceremony, it's not just about blood. It's about the soul. What are you saying? I'm saying, Alistair said, looking at me with his brother's eyes, that I think there's a way to bring him back. Not as a ghost. Not as a memory. But as himself. How? I breathed, afraid to hope. The full moon, he said. It's the night the veil is thinnest. It's the night you fought. It's the night he's strongest. But the full moon is when he kissed me, I said. And it fed the Wraith. The Wraith is gone, Alistair said, his voice firm. The power is still there. But now it has nowhere to go. You have to call him. Not just as an anchor. As a mate. The bonding ceremony, it requires the Alpha's mark. Yes, Alistair said. A bite. I stepped back. A spirit can't bite me. His can, Alistair said, his eyes blazing. On the full moon. When he is strong enough to manifest. You didn't just save him, Eve. You changed him. You gave him a piece of your life. He is not just dead. And he is not just alive. He is yours. You must call him. And you must accept his mark. Will it work? I don't know, Alistair admitted. But it is the only thing we haven't tried. The next full moon was 3 days away. Chapter 6. The night of the full moon was clear and cold. The moon was a heavy, silver coin in the sky. This time, I was not alone. I stood in the ruins of the keep. Alistair was with me, not as an antagonist, but as a guardian. Elias was there, too, sitting on a stone bench, wrapped in blankets. Are you ready, child? Elias asked. I nodded. I was terrified. But I was also so full of hope it felt like I might burst. I wore the locket. It was pulsing, a steady, warm heartbeat against my skin. The moon is at its peak, Alistair said, looking up. Now, Eve. Call him. I closed my eyes. I didn't shout his name. I didn't whisper. I reached inside myself, to that warmth that had lived in my chest for months. I reached for him. Rael. I am here. Come to me. I am not your anchor. I am not your prison. I am your home. Come home. The air shimmered. It was not the weak, fading light of our last battle. It was a pillar of gold, solidifying in front of me. He appeared. He was whole. He was solid. He looked exactly as he had the day he died, dressed in black, his dark hair blowing in the wind. He was no longer a ghost. He was him. Eve, he said. His voice was real. It vibrated in the air. Alistair gasped. Brother. Rael looked at Alistair, and he smiled. Alistair. He nodded. Then he turned back to me. He was so beautiful it hurt. You called me, he said, his voice full of wonder. I can see you, I cried, tears rolling down my cheeks. You're my anchor, Eve. I am part of you. He reached out, his hand stopping an inch from my face. But I am still a spirit. I am still bound. I know, I said, my voice shaking. We have to finish it. He looked at me, understanding dawning in his golden eyes. The bonding. Yes, I said. He shook his head. No, Eve. The mark, it could destroy your human body. My spirit, it's still an alpha's. It won't, I said, my voice firm. I am not just human. I'm your conduit. I'm your mate. We have to try. Behind me, Alistair spoke. The lore is clear, brother. A bond given freely. She is willing. Rael looked at me, his face a storm of love and fear. If I hurt you. You won't, I said. I stepped closer until I was almost touching him. I trust you, Rael. I am not afraid. I tilted my head, baring my neck. I am yours. Claim me. He raised a trembling hand, his golden light tracing the column of my throat. Eve. My love. My life. He leaned in. I felt his lips, warm and solid, against my skin. I closed my eyes, a sob of pure joy escaping me. And then, I felt the sharp sting. It was not a pain. It was an explosion. A white-hot, electric energy shot through me. It was his soul, his power, his essence, pouring into me, marking me, claiming me. My knees buckled. I screamed, but it was not a scream of pain. It was a scream of release. The world went white. I felt Rael's arms, solid and strong, catching me. He was holding me. I opened my eyes. I was in his arms. He was no longer glowing. He was solid. Flesh. Blood. I touched his face. He was real. He was warm. Rael? I whispered. I'm here, he breathed, his voice thick, his own eyes wide with shock. He was solid. He was real. I'm here, Eve. I'm here. The bond, the ceremony, my human soul accepting his alpha spirit, it hadn't just marked me. It had remade him. It had drawn him back, through me, into the world. Alistair and Elias were staring, speechless. Rael didn't care. He just looked at me, his eyes full of a love that had conquered death, shadow, and time. He kissed me. It was not a memory. It was not a ghost. It was not a conduit. It was my husband. And it was real. Epilogue. The sunlight, warm and bright, spilled across the bedsheets. I woke slowly, tangled in the blankets and in the arms of the man I loved. I turned over, my heart doing its familiar, happy flip. Rael was watching me, his chin propped on his hand. He was solid, breathing, real. Good morning, he murmured, his voice husky with sleep. Good morning, I smiled, tracing the line of his jaw. It had been a year since that night on the cliffs. A year of discovery. Rael was back. But he was different. He was no longer a werewolf. The fire of my soul had burned away the part of him that was of the earth, of the curse. He was just Rael. Human. Mortal. He was alive. The bond was still there, a warm, humming current between us, a constant reminder of what we had survived. Alistair was still the alpha. He led the pack, and he did it well. Greystone Manor was a home again, not a tomb. Elias, bless him, had lived to see his alpha returned, before he passed peacefully in his sleep, the old journal in his lap. We were just happy. What are you thinking about? Rael asked, brushing my hair back. This, I whispered. Us. That it's real. It's real, he promised, kissing my forehead. I'm not going anywhere. We had our forever. It wasn't the one we had planned. It was harder, stranger, and more beautiful than we could have ever imagined. He died saving me. But his spirit never left. And my love had brought him home. And that's the end of our story. Thank you so much for being here. This one was an emotional roller coaster for me to write. What did you think? What part of the story did you find the most intriguing? Was it the moment Eve realized her kiss was feeding the wraith? Or was it when Elias revealed that Alistair was wrong and she had to claim Rael's spirit? Did you expect Rael to come back as a human? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please show your support by giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. My channel is still young and trying to grow, and every single subscription is a massive support from you. It truly means the world to me. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next interesting story.